Welcome to Laplink Connections. Today I'm talking with Sanjay Jhawar, president of RealWear. And we will talk about who RealWear is and what they do right now. Hi, Sanjay, how are you?
I'm doing well, Thomas. So great to see you again.
Well, certainly RealWear is a new player in the marketplace. And so I do want to have a little bit more insight on the company and what you're doing. Microsoft CEO said a couple of months ago that he sees the creation of a strong, intelligent edge to the cloud, meaning that we will see more intelligent devices, like more powerful computers, but also smart edge devices. RealWear is a great example of a new kind of edge player. Can you give us the 30-second elevator pitch, what RealWear is all about and what role does an end-user device play in the context of edge and cloud?
Absolutely, Thomas. Yeah, so RealWear is a head-mounted device company. It's probably quick and easy just to show you our device, which is a helmet-mounted, hands-free, voice-controlled Android device. So technically, it's much like a tablet, but it doesn't have a tablet screen. Instead, on the end of this arm here, you have a little micro display that you can look into. It's not like a HoloLens, it's not see-through, and it's but it is very rugged, and there's a camera here. So this is you can wear it on a hard hat, you can wear it directly on your head, you could wear it on a baseball cap, and this is really targeted at industrial end users. And so the industrial end users are, manufacturers, people with field service booths, wind turbine maintenance technicians, people inspecting the quality of the wheels in a car factory, people in oil refineries and control systems for chemical plants, all of these, many, many verticals, pharmaceutical manufacturers. We have about 5,000 customers in this space. And there you get a very interesting blend of cloud and edge. So at one level, the device itself is pretty powerful. It's an Android device, similar to a smartphone in terms of its capabilities, but with a different user interface. It's all voice driven. And the voice is actually all processed on the device, so it doesn't go to the cloud. So even if there's no connection, you can drive the user experience with very noise robust voice recognition. You can run apps locally, just like you can run them on your tablet with no connection. So if you have a library of manuals or videos, you can watch them with no connection. Of course, if you are connected through Wi-Fi or cellular, then you can talk to the cloud and you can get to your SharePoint files, or you can get to your backend systems. And then there are apps that run to access your systems of record, like SAP or Microsoft Dynamics or many others. But what's interesting is sometimes there's something in between, an edge server. And we're starting to see some of those use cases, whether it's for security or latency, that in these industrial environments, increasingly, there's this edge capability. And so we do see some interesting use cases. There are some people for security purposes, they want to cache all their documents at the edge. So we have one very large food and beverage manufacturer whose intellectual property is really 1,000 short documents in SharePoint that describe their manufacturing process. And they're very keen not to have those go out of their network. So if you want to look at those on a device like ours, then they can be cached at the edge. There's other use cases for looking at doing computer vision types of capabilities. We have this nice camera. So there are use cases around image recognition. Some of that you can do right on the edge using local computer vision inference engines. But for something that requires a little more power, a little more object recognition, you can stream that video to an edge server, which is doing the inference there. And you can do things like annotate live video with boxes that track things as they move around. That requires a little more compute power, often done at the edge, so you have low latency rather than sending it all the way back to the cloud. So as you move your head, the box that's tracking the object, maybe a remote expert is trying to point something out to you by drawing a circle around something, and of course your field of view changes as you move your head. So that tracking is potentially done at the edge, and it's fast enough that by the time it gets back to the device, you haven't moved very much, and so the bounding box seems stable on the video, even though the video is moving. So there are many other use cases around IT OT convergence and control systems. It's typically been device plus cloud or client server, but we're starting to see interesting edge cases, Azure Mobile Edge, which can be managed like a cloud server, but really is a box that you put in your behind your firewall in your facility. And early days, I would say, but definitely some customer interest that we see there.
Yeah, but that means that really you are a great case of the intelligent edge. I think that a lot of the discussion about the cloud was always cloud, cloud, cloud. Yeah, we have some sensors, we take the data, but you are certainly a great example of that. But at first sight, people would probably look at RealWear as an augmented reality play. But it's really a different scenario, isn't it? You're creating a new way of collaboration for industrial workers to be more efficient and saving time and money. That's, at the end of the day, the goal. Where do you position your approach versus other AR or VR approaches in the market?
It's a great question. So, this AR, augmented reality, VR, virtual reality space is definitely getting a lot of attention. There are some, if you follow technology, there are some relatively famous examples. Microsoft has its HoloLens 2, which puts displays over both eyes and uses them to create a stereoscopic impression of a virtual object. But because you can see through the displays, that they seem to be in real space. And there are other players like Magic Leap, and some are more, industrial enterprise targeted, some are less targeted, maybe more targeted consumers. Facebook is famously working on something there. Reportedly has up to 10,000 people working on their metaverse and extended reality, but we assume that will be consumer targeted. In our space for the enterprise, we target the industrial users who are often in harsh environments and environments where health and safety is very paramount. And so one of the things that's important is that you're not increasing any safety hazard when using devices like these. So there's an approach that we have that we call assisted reality. So it's still AR, but the A now stands for assisted. And so when you wear the device and you have this little screen here, it's not taking up your whole field of view. It's taking up about 20% of your field of view. So 80% you're seeing unaided with your naked eye. So if there's a forklift truck coming at you from the left or a crane swinging at you from the right, I mean, you're not going to be so distracted by the wonderful holograms that you get hit in the head. And that's very important to industrial customers because they won't accept something that doesn't meet their health and safety needs. And then again, when we really look at real industrial customers, there's a lot of legacy in the systems and content that they have. So in the oil and gas industry, you'd be surprised how many clipboards there are doing checklists that someone is scanning at the end of the week, with all the human error that is involved in writing with a pen. And yes, there are certain advanced companies that have, nice digital twins, simulations of their assets, which can be used to predict when things are going to go wrong by monitoring vibration. But if you look across the base of industrial customers, most of them aren't that far along in content transformation. So what we chose to do is really make something that's very easy to use existing content, PDFs, documents, existing Android applications, web applications, and make them hands-free with a very simple way to make them voice controlled that works in multiple languages and at very high noise, up to 100 decibels in the work environment. And that allows customers to take their existing approaches and go more gradually to this kind of augmented world in a way that is acceptable to the health and safety community, that's acceptable to the frontline workers. Your typical frontline worker workforce in many of these industries is its age profile is there's a lot of people that are similar to you and me, Thomas, and that expertise is a few years away from leaving the workforce, and there's an imperative to transfer that knowledge to the younger folks coming in. you used to have a 3 or 5 year apprenticeship, with these types of technicians, and particularly during COVID, that's pretty hard to do. But we can do a virtual apprenticeship. You can the young employee can have done a certain amount of training, go out into the field, and essentially have the expert virtually looking over their shoulder, looking through their eyes, seeing what they see, coaching them, and that makes that workforce more productive. Using applications like Teams and then guided workflow applications and IoT applications, many other things. So this assisted reality approach is really getting traction, and I think we've got such a large number of global enterprises, and we're seeing deployments that are in the thousands now, not just the pilots and the proof of concepts.
Yeah, and certainly COVID also enhances new way of thinking, because we can't be always at the same place. So I think you also play into this whole COVID field where you can't be together, you might be by yourself. You need to have this assisted reality to be able to do your job. We see that all the time now we have a lot of demands. We're doing the PC migrations, and while they were doing that in the office, now we have to create connections to the remote office, because that has to be as powerful in the remote office as it is. I always tell my people, that in the office they want to have 3 monitors. When they go home, they are sitting on the couch on a 12-inch laptop and say, no, we are very, very productive. So we have to manage the workplace to be as intelligent as in the office, where you might have all these things that you can look at, that you can see. So you basically take this whole information that is in the back office and bring it to the front worker, which I think is critical. And certainly the whole notion of development of technology just came into my head when you were saying, virtual reality was first, and now you're coming with the assistant reality, and that is often what's happening. The first innovation comes first, and then there's much more thinking, much more demand, and suddenly real solutions come out. It's not the first one. Sometimes it's the second wave that bring really new thinking and so on. Now, at this stage, I think you are targeting industry players mostly. Yeah, and you have great customer references and many great customers, and you can be congratulated on your success. Are you now seeing other areas of engagements, other market segments you want to go after?
Yes, we are. And so I think the pandemic has certainly been a massive accelerator. I think things took off for us in late March of 2020, and 2020 was we tripled our revenues for 2020, and a lot of that was buying cycles shortened because the urgent need to get for industrial facilities to manage their operations when everyone couldn't be on site, and do it remotely through video collaboration and other tools. But it's like any classic crossing the chasm approach, right? You find, for a new technology, you find new markets where the value is very, very high, and those may not be extremely widespread. They're sort of important niches. So certainly in the oil and gas industry, if you want to go and commission a new control system for your refinery from Honeywell, used to be that they would send 30 to 40 people from Saudi Arabia to Houston to supervise the commissioning and customer acceptance of their customized refinery control system. So imagine all those Saudis being housed in Houston, and all the cost of the flights and everything else. So now 2 people go and 30 people watch remotely. So the ROI on those things is huge. I mean, $800,000 per device per year, is sort of in the range. Now there are many others that aren't as big as that, but they sort of prove out the value. So now we're definitely seeing auto dealers, even independent franchises. You want to send your car in, they can't figure out what's wrong with it. It's been in the shop for a week already. They're stuck. They have to do a service escalation. They have to talk to the expert technicians at BMW in New Jersey. And if they can't solve it that way, they'll ship your car to a different dealership. And now you're into 3 to 4 weeks wait and lots of cost before you drive your car, plus the cost of the loaner car. We documented cases where the dealership can solve something in 30 minutes that would have taken, 30 days. And so that goes down now to a much broader, population of car mechanics, and there can be wholly owned dealerships by big car companies or many independent dealerships. We've started to see usage in telemedicine and medical, certainly in field medicine, where you can, a paramedic can now treat a young child with morphine, which previously required a higher level paramedic or a doctor to supervise. But the doctor can't be there, or the high level paramedic isn't available, or lower level paramedic can do it under supervision, remote supervision over a video call. We've seen maintenance of all kinds of equipment. In fact, some of our largest customers are filling toothpaste tubes. Colgate's an interesting one. You'd be surprised how much downtime there is when your toothpaste filling machine is offline. I mean, the latest ones fill 800 tubes of toothpaste per minute. Wholesale price of a tube of toothpaste is about $1. So, that adds up fast, right? $48,000 an hour of downtime when that thing isn't working. Turn 2 days of downtime into 2 hours of downtime. So it is spreading, and it is, and as there's more solutions coming on, and we continue to work on the user experience and the onboarding and the IT security challenges that inevitably exist these days, and unsolve those things, we're seeing broader and broader usage. So yeah, I think we're well past the first few successful niches and into the early majority now, and scaling fairly successfully. And I think it'll be a 10-year adoption journey for this industry, before it's as ubiquitous as a tablet is today.
Yeah, no, I think you're in the right spot, and I think it will be a very, very successful business. Now, talking a little bit, about a fast-growing company, how did COVID affect your company? Has your personal management changed during that time?
Absolutely. I think, like everybody, we went to fully remote. We had just refit after our Series B round. We'd just done a very nice office refit in Vancouver, Washington, on the other side of the river from Portland Airport, and it was a historic building that was a really cool place, but it needed some attention on the inside to make it a very effective workplace with sound deadening and cubicles and video conferencing. And we did all that, spent a lot of money, and then almost immediately no one was in the office for more than a year. So yeah, we are basically hybrid now. Most people are remote. In the last few months, salespeople have started to go visit customers. We that year when we tripled our revenue, we did it with remote sales calls, right? Now, ours is a type of product which really helps to put it on your head and experience it. There's only so much you can do remote. So we just upped our budget for shipping demo units to people, which we typically would ask them, people to pay for things. But now we would ship them, a trial unit, and they'd ship it back, and so they could at least experience it. Internally in the culture, we're a heavy user of Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams is one of our software partners for customers. We also partner with Zoom and Cisco WebEx and many others. But internally, we have definitely got a lot of value out of Teams, and we've been through the same things that all companies have. Video conference burnout and needing to establish more breaks. And I certainly do enjoy the once a month executive team meetings where we get together for 3 days in the office. And there's certainly things that you can do there which are really hard to accomplish remotely. But I don't think we will be going back to a full office, everyone in the office all the time. We're a company that is trying to sell the benefits of remote working through our particular headset to other companies. And we certainly find benefits to ourselves. It was very interesting. I can't talk about the details because it's all confidential, but there is a new product that's coming out for us, in the coming period. And a couple of months ago, we were at our face-to-face management team session, our executive team, about 9 of us, and we went out for dinner in a restaurant in Vancouver, Washington. And because of the time zone, it just so happens that the first set of prototype units was being produced in China at our OEM manufacturer, and they were using our product wearing on their head to broadcast the line and the first units being assembled. And we sat at the restaurant watching this on our phones, right? Watching somebody using our HMT product, filming, effectively live filming, live streaming the factory working. And of course, you can really see it's a lot of manual assembly in these types of products. So you can really see what's going on, how the technician is actually fitting the circuit boards together and plugging in the cables and tightening all the screws. And we were able to really see it from a first-person view with the hands in use, which would be very hard to do if you had to have a phone.
Yeah, and you can see immediately the application to quality control, right? That you can actually see the processes that are being done and how you can improve it. So, one of your designers might say, well, now I can see it, how it's done. This was totally stupid of me. I should have done it just the other way around. And that's absolutely great. And you already, I think, answered my next question that I had was, post-COVID, do you see any permanent changes in leadership and collaboration with your employees? And you said, yeah, you probably stay in a hybrid world.
I think so. I mean, we have in Oregon, which is where our headquarter office is. I mean, we're global employees. There's not a single solution, but for our headquarters office, we have a vaccine mandate and mask requirement per the state mask requirement per the state of Oregon guidelines, but also state of Washington. We're in Washington on the other side of the Columbia River from Portland, and for those people, most people are pretty happy to be vaccinated. We have one or two holdouts, like I think a lot of companies. To the extent that they can do their jobs remotely, we don't mandate that they have to come into the office, but there may be some situations where the job cannot be done outside the office, and they don't want to be vaccinated. And I think hopefully the FDA approval for the Pfizer, full approval for the Pfizer vaccine will change things. But we've yet to have a case where we had to make a decision. But I believe that we have to keep the totality of our employee base safe, and we'll try and be as flexible as we can to accommodate individual employees. But if the job is in the office and it can't be done remotely, and someone can't be vaccinated or won't be vaccinated, then we may end up in a situation where there isn't a fit for that person anymore. I think we'll have to handle it with great sensitivity, but we have a business to run, just like every other company. Our customers, some of our customers are those vaccine manufacturers. They're scaling up their manufacturing of antibody treatments and vaccine treatments. I can't say who they are, but two of the names that you'd be familiar with from the antibody treatment space and the vaccine space are actively, using these technologies to help scale up their manufacturing very rapidly. So we fit very much into this is the new way of doing work, and we just sort of have to get used to it.
Yeah, no, I believe that as well. I'm a little bit of a hardcore office person. I must say my employees always, look at me as the dinosaur. But I had a lot of experience in past jobs with, remote folks, like, consultants who never came to the office. And there is a lack of communal creativity. And you mentioned that with your leadership meeting. It can't be always done remotely on a conference call. There's much more to be done. And although we have whiteboarding in many of these applications, whiteboarding still, it's a very different experience than if you do online. So yeah, hybrid will be probably what we see. The pendulum of total home office swings back, somewhere, in the middle.
My friend Steve Cadigan, who used to be the VP of HR at LinkedIn, lives in Menlo Park, where I live. He just wrote a book called Work Quick, which really is, these new options, hybrid, remote, the ability for people to provide their skills is really upending where people go for value. So you see Google and Facebook and companies like that and Microsoft being willing to hire people that are further away. And equally, you see people who can now get jobs at, they can, their skills can be relevant to a wider audience of companies. And so we do see a lot of people starting to move around, and I think we've done very well with retention in our company. But we start to see it too. We're 5-6 years into our company journey, so that's a good run for a lot of people. Now they have new options, or they have new family situations, and so I think every company has to be very good at providing a purpose. More than the vision, and more than the mission, the purpose for why you come to work at any particular company. And we, as a leadership team, have put a lot more effort in formalizing and communicating and engaging with our employee base about what is the purpose of this company. What makes it, what makes you get up in the morning and want to work here beyond the paycheck. And I think that's even more important than it ever was before. It was important before, but now it's sort of essential. And if you don't have a compelling purpose and a culture that's aligned with that purpose, and you take the decisions, some of which maybe not easy decisions, to strengthen that culture and not take the easy way out sometimes, then I think you build a strong, diverse and inclusive employee base that hangs together, when the going gets tough, and thrives in the business. And I think that's what we're striving to achieve, and we're a long way down our journey, but it never ends. So I think that's a part of the critical success factor.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. And a lot of times, at least, we were now reminded of what values are important in business, like creating value and purpose. And it's not necessarily because now it's better with remote. It's just we do things now suddenly and realize that we didn't do it in the past. Yeah, right. that we lacked certain things that we did because we didn't think about it. Now, certainly your journey as an entrepreneur, is probably fascinating. What advice do you have for technology entrepreneurs beginning their first startup? You certainly went through that, but then you also brought in a professional CEO from a much larger business. How has that changed the company, and where do founders bring the most value after such a transition? You must have a lot you can share with the next generation.
Yes, thank you for that question. So this is my fourth startup, but the first one as a founder. So in the previous three, I was a member of the senior management, reporting to usually the founder CEO in most of those cases. And let me tell you, being a founder is different. No matter how many times you've been in a management team in a startup that has its ups and downs, and all of them have ups and downs. There's no company that has a linear path to success. But as a founder, you're extra committed, and therefore, I think resilience is very important. And it's not for everybody. I think that the idea of being a startup founder is somewhat romanticized, and the truth is, it's not for everybody, and there's no shame in that at all. I could certainly have got paid a lot more in salary over my career not being in startups than being in 4 startups. I had some larger companies before that, including Microsoft at one point. But I think you've got to, as the company grows, and the things that worked in the early stages, where you had a small number of people who knew everything about the business and were able to really go and apply extraordinary focus and persistence to breaking down nearly insurmountable problems. That's great. You need that to get started, but ultimately it doesn't scale. Ultimately, you can't hire 1,000 people that work in that way. And so when you've proven out the business model and the products and the product market fit, and you've got revenues and it's starting to scale, then your next challenge is scaling. Your next challenge is having an HR system and people who get employee reviews once in a while, which we're just getting to, over 5 years into the company. and doing having proper communications and more than the occasional hands meeting, but really re-emphasizing the purpose, the mission, the values, the employee values. We've hired a lot of people who we've never actually met face to face in the last year. So that's interesting. How do you onboard into a culture when you don't get to meet people face to face? You have to be even more close to those employees. And then I think it's so, what I've learned is that there are some rare entrepreneurs who can scale from 0 to 1, create something from nothing, and they can go all the way to the size of Amazon. But my goodness, those are very rare people. There's almost none of those out there. I'm not one. You have to know what your strengths and weaknesses are. In my case, 0 to 50 million, $100 million, I kind of know pretty closely what that looks like. 100 million to $1 billion, I've seen it done. I can appreciate it. But we needed someone who would run $1 billion business to really drive, the transformation of processes, of values, of cultures, and of team to do that. So I think part of being a founder is understanding what you're good at and when it's time to bring people in. And also, I think that what you can do as a founder when that happens, what I find myself doing is I have the entire history of the company from the meeting of the founders, nearly 6 years ago in my dining room here, 2 rooms to the left of me, to the point now where we're, in all over the world with, 150 employees and growing fast. And there are many new people that didn't have that history. So, yeah, did you know we talked to this customer 3 years ago? Did we know we first started talking to Oracle 4 years ago? And now it's come back again. Or here's how things get done. Here's all the things that were tried and what worked and didn't work. And that institutional history is important. And then there's sometimes no substitute with a customer for having to getting the quote founder or one of the founders on a co-founder. And you sometimes can get to a higher level in the customer or you can project thought leadership in a slightly different way. I'm never going to be thrilled about making sure the employee review system is world class. I mean, I know we need to have one. It's very important, and without that, you can't grow a talented team. It's just not my passion. I'm not gonna work extra hours to get an amazing employee review system. We had a VP of HR for that. She's amazing, and I like doing strategic product stuff and strategic customer stuff and strategic partner stuff. So I think it's important to find out where you add value, and then you have to accept that your role changes. You are, as a company grows, you can't do everything.
Yeah, I think that's a big learning always. Of course, I see it all the other way around. I mean, we see that small companies that are growing rapidly need help from people who have the experience from larger companies.
Right.
On the other hand, it's very hard to bring larger company people into smaller companies, because they are used to that everything kind of works, on the bottom, whereas we in a smaller company we have to do everything, and we have to go down, even to perhaps do the mailing to the customers and put the mailing in. So it's the art is to find what you need at what stage,
yes,
to grow, to be successful. And to build a fascinating company. Well, I think that you are, Sanjay, very much on the way to be a key player in this area. It's absolutely amazing. Thank you for this extraordinary interview, and I wish you all the best for the future. I know that we, we'll see it, probably see each other again at CES or some other places when we meet again. But thank you very much, and good luck for the future.
Thanks so much, Thomas. It was wonderful to talk with you as always.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.